Greetings, folks. Iolair here. Today's replay is courtesy of a brand new guest to the channel. This is Mephiztopheleze, who plays on the North America server, and he is sailing for us the premium Tier 6 Soviet cruiser Molotov in a Tier 6 domination match here on Strait. Now, there's some rather interesting matchmaking in that each team has brought a failed division that includes a Tier 4 carrier and a Tier 4 battleship. Mephiztopheleze is also playing in a division with a couple of clanmates, including Gmatic in the Vesteros and HMAS Thunderchild in the Fuso. Now, Mephistopheles' build in the Molotov is typical for a light cruiser, choosing to take IFHE as the first level 4 skill instead of Concealment Expert. However, for purposes of Tier 6 and even Tier 7 battles, the Molotov really plays more as a heavy cruiser because it fires 180mm rounds, which have a base HE penetration of 30mm before IFHE is applied, and this allows the HE to penetrate all bows and sterns of mid-tier battleships of 26mm, and the IFHE is really more useful against Tier 8 battleships where it can penetrate those 32mm surfaces. Now, Mephiztopheles has landed a Citadel on the Furutaka, and with this next salvo, he's going to get 2 more Citadels and finish off the cruiser, claiming first blood for the team. Now, unfortunately, we're going to lose Gmatic here in just a moment to fire from the Jaguar and the Wyoming. And so, unfortunately, we are going to lose this clanmate here in just a moment. But the Allies do have another destroyer, the Mutsuki, that's moved into the Charlie cap and will allow the Allies to take that cap without being disturbed further. Unfortunately, in the north, the opponents have gotten a very strong handle, having just captured Alpha, and they are going to end up wiping out that northern flank over the next few minutes. We're going to see some rather interesting exchanges of ships up in the north, and I'll call that out as we get there. And Mephiztopheles is backed off here and is going to leverage the very good range and ballistics of the Molotov. The Molotov uses the same guns or very similar gun systems to the Dmitry Donskoy, which is the current Tier 9 Soviet, quote, light cruiser. And really at Tier 9, the 180mm guns really do behave more like light cruiser shells than heavy cruiser down here at Tier 6. But because of the very good ballistics and the very good range, the Molotov has been a very popular ship for a long time. And it was one of the very few cruisers that premium cruisers that I didn't have for a long time, and I elected to pick it up this past holiday season when it was available for a discount. So, like I said, putting some long-range fire on some of these battleships that are over on the west side of Alpha. We can see that the Allies continue to lose forces in the north at Alpha. Now, there's going to be, I called out a kind of an interesting exchange that's going to happen here. That's going to be between the Pensacola and the Graf Spee. Now, the Pensacola obviously has the reputation of being a very squishy cruiser, but it has excellent guns. It is a U.S. Navy heavy cruiser, so the AP performance is excellent. It gets the preferential penetration angles, and the Pensacola is indeed going to finish off the Graf Spee, which I think one would normally not expect to happen under those circumstances, but it did. And so very well done by the Pensacola. Unfortunately, we cannot see exactly how that exchange went down, but we do know now that the Graf Spee had set a fire on the Pensacola, which eventually claimed that ship. And so the Allies, again, continue to lose forces in the north. They have one other ship or they did anyway, a Texas, that has now just been taken out at Alpha. And so now their northern flank has been completely wiped out, and the ship counts are even. Now, I've noticed here that Mephiztopheles, I really like how he's been very thoughtful about his ammunition choices here. Now, he did fire AP at the Hawkins initially, thinking that the Hawkins would soften his angle, which he didn't quite on that previous salvo, but with this salvo he has. and Mephistopheles was able to get another citadel. Now the Hawkins is moving quite slowly, so Mephistopheles is shortening his lead here, and with this next salvo, he's going to land a few more citadels and finish off the Hawkins for his second kill of the game. He's already up to 61,000 in damage, and we're not even 10 minutes into the battle. So a good reflection of both Mephistopheles' execution here and being able to use make good choices on his ammo, good aiming, but also the capabilities of the ship as well, and really exploiting those capabilities. Now, looking at the overall tactical situation, it's going to be very important that the teams, with being as close as they are to each other, the Allies do have a narrow lead, as they did take the ship lead, but it's still pretty much anybody's game. And it's going to be important to get some control over the center of the map because the teams are fairly evenly divided just physically on the map. And whoever can kind of get control of Bravo and maintain some control is going to have a better chance at winning the game. Now, Mephistopheles has elected to sort of approach this New York, and with this next salvo that's going to be coming up, Mephistopheles is going to be very lucky that he's going to survive this salvo. The New York has very good penetration characteristics, so between some combination of RNG and maybe some aiming, it's like I said, I think it's quite fortunate that Mephistopheles was able to avoid being taken out in that last salvo. So fortunately, he did survive, and he's now able to put some fire on the sole remaining opposing destroyer that has indeed moved into Bravo and is trying to take that cap for his team. Now, the Allies have now gotten a two-ship lead, so it's giving them a little more cushion on the points. And Mephistopheles is going to continue to fire on this. Now, he is being targeted here, and my expectation is that it's probably one of the battleships that is north of Bravo that was probably looked to put fire on him because there are his battleships are actually behind him, which would make typically makes cruisers a preferred target for battleships, not only just because they're easier to take out, but especially since if cruisers are closer to them, they're going to prioritize them. Now, Mephistopheles has the advantage that his allied Montecuccoli has moved into the Bravo cap and is lower health, and is going to be the focus of the battleships that are moving down from Alpha for the moment. But once that Montecuccoli is taken out, Mephistopheles is going to be the next focus for those battleships. The Vesteros here has unfortunately grounded himself, and Mephistopheles with this next salvo is going to finish off the destroyer, claiming his third kill for the game. Now, if I had been Mephistopheles, I probably wouldn't be this close. Yes, there is a need to get the cap. He does have an allied Mutsuki that is in the cap and can take it for the team. And the Montecuccoli here is going to go down here in just a moment. And like I said, there goes the Montecuccoli. And like I said, this is now going to make Mephistopheles the priority for the battleships, the Normandy and I believe that's a Bayern. He takes a couple of overpens from the Normandy and has now backed off. So yeah, I probably would not have gotten as close as he did, but it was very good for him to be able to support his team as well as he did and finish off the last of the destroyers nonetheless. The Allies do end up taking Bravo, and he's going to move over more towards the west side of the map, where they are going to discover the opposing carrier here in a moment. So this is exactly the type of position as a cruiser that I would want to be in. You want to try to be in a position that you can fire on opponents that are attempting to push into caps, preferably from concealment. He is giving broadside here to the Bayern, but the Bayern looks like he is, at least for the moment, or had been targeting the Texas and the Queen Elizabeth that are moving into the cap. Now, he is being targeted again here. My expectation that it is the Bayern that's looking to shoot at him, because the Bayern only needs to get a couple of penetrating hits or a citadel hit and finish off Mephiztopheleze. But in fact, he's now being targeted by 2. But the only ship that can fire on him is going to be the Bayern. He does set a fire on the Bayern, and I think he is going to. There are some shells that have just come in from the Bayern that did miss, fortunately. And now that he is no longer targeted. There is the Confederate achievement. So again, a very good reflection of his performance. He's closing in on 100,000 in damage. He does have a fire burning on the Bayern, and there he is just past 100,000. He's gonna try to get, I think, one more salvo off on the Bayern before he turns his attention to the carrier. He is gonna end up. The terrain here is gonna block his next shot. And then he's going to start going after the carrier. He may even fire at this point, but I think it's going to hit the terrain. Yeah. So now he and his allied Fuso, HMAS Thunderchild, are going to close in on the carrier. Now, again, this is a fairly dangerous situation because Mephiztopheleze is spotted by planes, or had been, and he is broadside to the Normandy. He is firing on the Normandy. But the Normandy looks like he's, obviously not looking at targeting, or at least he wasn't targeting Mephiztopheleze. Mephiztopheleze is going to send torpedoes here. In fact, Mephiztopheleze takes a rocket hit from the carrier. I'm going to assume that Mephiztopheleze was in voice communications with his allied Fuso to say, hey, I'm sending torpedoes, just so that he wouldn't end up torping his teammate, and then he does get torpedoes on the Hosho and finishes off, the Langley, and then finishes off the carrier for his 4th kill, and he's up to over 119,000 in damage. So things have gone very well. His allies have now got this pretty well locked up. They have a 3-ship advantage. They have two caps under their control without really any risk that either of them are going to be contested. And there's this low health Normandy, and obviously the Bayern left on the map. No, excuse me, is not the Bayern. This is the New York. That's the other battleship. In fact, I'm not even sure where the New York started. I don't know if this is that battleship started in the north side of the map. I don't remember. So another good approach here as a cruiser to leverage the terrain to block your your position and be able to fire ideally from some concealment. He is detected here by the New York, but the Normandy is clearly focused on the Texas, which is in Bravo, and the Texas is quite low in health. A few shots there from the Fuso. He does set a fire on the Normandy. The Normandy's having to turn to avoid torpedoes from the carrier. And then with this next salvo, he isn't going to quite finish off the Normandy. He does get one penetrating hit. The Texas goes down, but still at this point things are looking pretty good. Going to send off another salvo here on the Normandy. And he's going to set a fire and finish off the Normandy for his Kraken Unleashed. And then with this next salvo, which he's about to send out to the New York, he is going to earn high caliber. So very impressive. First blood, high caliber, Confederate and Kraken Unleashed in the Molotov in a tier 6 domination match here on Strait. Unfortunately, I don't have the post-match results. I do have a screenshot of the final ribbons at the end of the match. But this is a very impressive game. He will have completed, or have done 130,000 in damage, sunk 5 ships. He is his Fuso is going to finish off the New York in like I said, a domination match here on Strait. So thank you very much, Mephiztopheleze, for sharing this replay with us. This is a really good match. I was very impressed. I certainly hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.